The notification sound cut through the silence of my home office like a knife. I glanced at my phone, expecting another work email about security installations. Instead, I saw a text from my wife Sarah that made my blood freeze. I'm staying over at my brother Jake's tonight. Deal with it, or we're done. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the screen, reading it 3 times. Sarah had been distant lately, always defending her entitled brother Jake, who'd moved back to town after his latest business failure. Jake, who thought the world owed him everything and treated everyone like servants. My name is David Miller, and I'm a 34-year-old security systems consultant. I thought I had a solid marriage with Sarah, my wife of 6 years. That text proved how wrong I was. I typed back immediately, "We're already done." 20 minutes later, Sarah burst through our front door, her face red with fury. "What do you mean we're done? I was just helping Jake with his apartment." At midnight? On a Tuesday? I stood up from my desk, keeping my voice calm. "Sarah, I've watched you choose Jake over our marriage for months. Every weekend, every holiday, every decision. He's my brother, David. Family comes first. I thought I was your family too." I walked past her toward the bedroom. "But apparently, I'm just the guy who pays the bills while you play house with your unemployed brother." Sarah followed me, her voice rising. "Jake's going through a tough time. He lost his job, his girlfriend left him, because he's a spoiled brat who's never worked a real day in his life." I pulled out a suitcase and started packing her clothes. "Remember our anniversary dinner last month? You left halfway through because Jake needed you to drive him to buy groceries. Groceries, Sarah." "You're being dramatic." "Am I? What about when you gave him our vacation money so he could invest in that cryptocurrency scheme? Or when you let him move into our guest room for 3 weeks without asking me?" Sarah's face crumpled. "I thought you understood. Jake's family." "And what am I?" I folded her favorite dress and placed it in the suitcase. "I work 60 hours a week installing security systems so we can afford this house, this life. But every time Jake snaps his fingers, you drop everything." The truth was, Jake had been poisoning our marriage since day one. He'd convinced Sarah that I wasn't good enough for her, that she deserved better than a blue-collar security guy. He filled her head with dreams of moving to California, starting some fantasy business together. "David, please, we can work this out." Sarah reached for my arm. I gently pulled away. "You made your choice when you sent that text. You chose Jake over your husband. Live with it." The next morning, I called my best friend Tom Rodriguez to tell him what happened. Tom and I had been friends since college, and our wives were close too. At least I thought they were. "Dave, man, I'm sorry to hear about you and Sarah," Tom said, but something in his voice sounded off. "Maybe you're being a little harsh, though." "Harsh? Tom, she literally told me to deal with her staying at another man's place or lose her. But Jake's her brother." "Since when do you defend Jake? You called him a parasite last Christmas." Silence on the other end. Then Tom sighed. "Look, Jennifer thinks you've been too controlling. Sarah's just trying to help her family." My stomach dropped. Jennifer was Tom's wife, and apparently she'd been talking to Sarah about our marriage. "Controlling? How exactly am I controlling?" "Come on, Dave. You monitor every penny Sarah spends. You complain when she goes out with Jake. I monitor our budget because Jake keeps asking for money, and I complain because she cancels our plans every time he calls." I was pacing now, angry and hurt. "I can't believe you're taking their side." "There are no sides here, man. Just maybe think about couples therapy." I hung up, feeling betrayed by my oldest friend. Within an hour, I got similar calls from 2 other couple friends, Mark and Lisa Chen and Robert and Amanda Foster. All of them suggested I was being unreasonable. All of them thought Sarah was just being a good sister. It became clear that Sarah had been talking to everyone, painting me as the controlling husband who wouldn't let her help her struggling brother. She'd left out the part about Jake's entitled attitude, his constant demands for money, and his obvious attempts to break up our marriage. By the end of the week, I was effectively cut off from our entire social circle. Invitations stopped coming. Group texts went silent when I joined. Even Tom, my best friend for 15 years, started making excuses to avoid hanging out. I was alone, and Sarah was living with Jake in his downtown apartment, probably celebrating her freedom from her terrible, controlling husband. 2 weeks later, I ran into the whole group at Murphy's Bar, our old hangout spot. Tom, Jennifer, Mark, Lisa, Robert, and Amanda were all there, laughing and drinking like nothing had changed. When they saw me, the laughter died. "Hey, Dave," Tom said awkwardly. "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected," I replied, taking a seat at their table uninvited. "Funny how quiet you all got when I walked over." Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. We didn't want to make things awkward." Too late for that. I signaled the bartender for a beer. "So, has Sarah told you her latest story about what a monster I am?" "Dave, come on," Mark said. "We're all friends here." "Are we? Because friends usually hear both sides before choosing teams." I looked around the table. "Did any of you ask why Sarah's brother Jake has been unemployed for 8 months? Or why his last 3 girlfriends all left him for the same reason?" "That's not really our business," Amanda said defensively. "But my marriage is your business? Interesting." I took a sip of my beer. "Let me tell you what Sarah probably didn't mention. Jake convinced her to empty our savings account twice. He's been living rent-free in our guest room on and off for 2 years. And last month, he told Sarah she should divorce me and move to California with him." The table went quiet. I could see doubt creeping into their faces. "Jake's been trying to break us up since our wedding day," I continued. "He told Sarah I wasn't ambitious enough, that she was settling. He's jealous that his little sister found happiness while he's still a 32-year-old failure living off other people." "Even if that's true," Robert said, "Sarah's still your wife. You should support her family." "Support? I've given Jake over $15,000 in the past 2 years. I've helped him move 4 times. I've listened to him insult my job, my education, and my character at every family dinner." My voice was rising now. "But the moment I say enough is enough, I'm the bad guy?" "You're being dramatic," Jennifer said. "Sarah just wants to help her brother get back on his feet." That's when I lost it. Get back on his feet? Jake has never been on his feet. He's a professional victim who's been manipulating Sarah since they were kids. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "You want to know what really happened? Sarah didn't just stay at Jake's apartment. She moved in with him. She chose her loser brother over her marriage, and you're all enabling it." "Calm down, Dave," Tom said, standing up too. "You're making a scene." "A scene? You haven't seen anything yet." I pulled out my phone and showed them the text thread between Sarah and me. "Read this. Read how your precious Sarah told her husband to deal with it or we're done when I questioned her staying overnight at another man's place." "Jake's her brother," Lisa protested, "and I'm her husband. Or was, until all of you convinced her that I was the problem." I looked at each of them. "You chose sides without knowing the facts. You threw away 15 years of friendship because Sarah's sob story was more convenient than the truth." Tom stepped closer. "Dave, you need to leave. You're drunk and angry." "I'm not drunk. I'm clear-headed for the first time in months." I grabbed my jacket. "You all made your choice. Live with it." As I walked away, I heard Jennifer say, "He's lost it completely." I turned back. "No, Jennifer, I finally found it. I found my self-respect." Over the next month, I focused on rebuilding my life without Sarah and our former friends. I threw myself into work, took on bigger security contracts, and started making new connections in the industry. That's when opportunity knocked in the form of Jake's stupidity. Jake had been bragging on social media about his new consulting business, posting pictures of expensive dinners and claiming he was building his empire. What he didn't know was that I'd installed the security system in his apartment building 2 years ago, and I still had access to the building's network. Legally, of course. The building manager was a client, and I was doing routine maintenance. During one of my service calls, I discovered something interesting. Jake had been running an illegal subletting scheme, renting out apartments he didn't own to short-term visitors and pocketing the money. He was also using Sarah's teacher salary to fund his fake lifestyle while telling everyone he was successful. I documented everything carefully, taking photos and keeping records. Then I did some more digging. Jake's cryptocurrency investment that he'd used our vacation money for? It was actually sports betting, and he'd lost everything. The business he was supposedly starting? A pyramid scheme that was already under investigation by the state attorney general. But the best part was Jake's social media presence. He'd been posting photos of himself with expensive cars, claiming they were his. I recognized one of them. It belonged to my client, a luxury car dealer. Jake had been taking photos during test drives and pretending he'd bought the cars. I compiled everything into a comprehensive report. The illegal subletting, the gambling debts, the fraud, and the lies. Then I sent it to the building management company, the state attorney general's office, and the IRS. I also sent copies to Tom, Jennifer, Mark, Lisa, Robert, and Amanda, along with a simple note. This is the man you chose over 15 years of friendship. Hope it was worth it. 3 weeks later, Jake's world collapsed like a house of cards. The building management company evicted him and filed charges for the illegal subletting scheme. The state attorney general's office opened an investigation into his pyramid scheme activities. The IRS flagged him for tax evasion on his unreported gambling winnings from 2 years ago. But the real blow came when Sarah discovered the truth about their finances. She called me, crying, at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night. David, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Jake told me he had investors, that the money was from his business. Sarah, stop. I was sitting in my new apartment, a nice one-bedroom place downtown. You made your choice. But I didn't know he was lying about everything. The cars, the money, the business. None of it was real. I tried to tell you that for 2 years. You called me controlling and chose him anyway. Our friends. They won't even talk to me anymore. Tom said you showed them proof that Jake was running scams. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Funny how quickly they changed their tune when they saw the evidence. Almost like they should have asked for facts before choosing sides. David, please. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. Jake's gone. He moved back to Phoenix to avoid the charges. It's just me now. We can start over. No, Sarah, we can't. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. You didn't just choose Jake over me. You chose his lies over our truth. You chose his manipulation over our marriage. And when I tried to show you what was happening, you turned our friends against me. I was wrong. Yes, you were. But more than that, you showed me who you really are. When things got difficult, when your brother needed you to choose between right and wrong, you chose wrong. Every single time. Sarah was sobbing now. What am I supposed to do? I lost my husband, my friends, my brother's in legal trouble because of me. Jake's in legal trouble because of Jake. You're alone because of your choices, and I'm finally free because I stopped accepting less than I deserved. David. Goodbye, Sarah. I hope you figure out how to be happy without destroying everyone around you. I hung up and blocked her number. The next morning, I got a call from Tom. Dave, man, I owe you a huge apology. We all do. Jennifer's been crying for days about how we treated you. Tom, I appreciate that, but no, let me finish. We were wrong. Completely wrong. Jake was using all of us, and Sarah, God, we should have listened to you. I sat down at my kitchen table, coffee in hand. You should have been my friends. That's all you had to do. Be my friends and trust that I wouldn't lie to you. You're right. We screwed up. Can we Can we try to fix this? I thought about it for a long moment. Tom, you threw away 15 years of friendship because Sarah's story sounded more dramatic than mine. You chose gossip over loyalty. How do I trust you again? I don't know, but I want to try. We all do. Here's the thing, Tom. I've spent the last 2 months building a new life. I've got new clients, new friends, and new respect for myself. I'm not the same guy who begged for your friendship while you stabbed me in the back. Dave, I'm not saying never, Tom, but I'm saying not now. Maybe someday, when you've figured out how to be a real friend, we can talk again. I hung up and deleted his number too. 6 months later, I was thriving. My security business had expanded. I was dating a wonderful woman named Rebecca, who actually appreciated my loyalty and work ethic, and I'd built a solid group of friends who valued honesty over drama. Sarah tried to contact me a few more times through mutual acquaintances, but I never responded. Jake eventually fled to another state to avoid prosecution, leaving Sarah to deal with the financial mess he'd created. Our former friends? They tried reaching out occasionally, but I'd moved on. I learned that friendship isn't about forgiveness. It's about trust. And once that trust is broken by choosing lies over loyalty, there's no going back. I kept the text message Sarah sent that night, the one that ended our marriage. Deal with it, or we're done. Sometimes I look at it and smile. She thought she was giving me an ultimatum. Instead, she gave me my freedom.